I had been studying humans for 3 cycles before I met Marcus Reeves, and I thought I understood them, thought I had cataloged their predictable aggression, their clumsy diplomacy, their laughable reliance on emotion over logic. The Galactic Consortium had assigned me, Krell of the Korthari Intelligence Division, to observe their newest ambassador during the peace negotiations on Station Meridian 7. Peace negotiations. What a joke. The humans had lost their colony on Praxis 9, 40,000 settlers, gone in a single orbital bombardment by the Krell Dominion. The attack had been, technically speaking, legal under Section 47 of the Contested Territory Accords. Brutal? Absolutely. But legal. And now the humans were coming to the table to talk. I had laughed when I received the assignment. Literally laughed. That clicking sound my mandibles make when I find something absurd. The Krell had 17 battlecruisers in that sector. The humans had maybe 4 destroyers and a supply frigate. This was not a negotiation. This was a surrender with extra steps. Marcus Reeves did not look like a man about to surrender. He arrived on Station Meridian 7 with a security detail of exactly 2 people. Not soldiers, mind you. Just 2 quiet individuals in dark suits who positioned themselves by the docking bay and did not move, did not speak, did not even seem to breathe loudly. Reeves himself was unremarkable by human standards. Average height, maybe 1.7 meters, to brown hair starting to gray at the temples, clean-shaven face with lines around the eyes that suggested either too much smiling or too much stress. He wore a simple gray suit, carried a single data tablet and walked with the kind of steady pace that made you forget he was even moving. Ambassador Reeves. Lumaj greeted him in perfect standard, extending my manipulator appendages in the human gesture they call a handshake. Welcome to Station Meridian 7, I am Krell, your assigned liaison for the duration of the negotiations. He looked at my hand, looked at me, worked at me, then shook it with exactly the right amount of pressure. Not too firm, not too weak, perfectly calibrated.
Thank you, Krell, he said. His voice was quiet.
Soft even. I appreciate your hospitality. Hospitality. As if this were a social visit and not a political execution. The first session was scheduled for the following morning. The Krell had sent High Commander Thraxis, a towering figure with scales like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with bioluminescent menace. Thraxis had personally ordered the bombardment of Praxis 9. He made sure everyone knew it. The humans violated the territorial markers, Thraxis announced to the assembled delegates, his voice resonating through the conference chamber like a war drum. They were warned. They ignored the warning. We responded with appropriate force. Around the table sat representatives from 14 different species, while the Ilari Collective, the Porthan Commonwealth, the Ashir Unity, even the reclusive Nethrum had sent an observer. Everyone wanted to see how the humans would handle this. I expected shouting. Threats. Maybe some dramatic human gesture like flipping the table, or making one of their famous impassioned speeches about justice and freedom. Reeves did none of that. He sat in his chair, hands folded on the table, and listened. Just listened. When Thraxis finished his opening statement, which had included 3 separate mentions of human incompetence and 2 thinly veiled suggestions that humanity should abandon all claims in the sector, Reeves nodded slowly. Thank you for that perspective, High Commander, he said. That was it. That was his entire response. I blinked all 3 of my eyes in sequence, which is the Korthari equivalent of a double take. The Ilari delegate actually leaned forward, antenna twitching with confusion. Even Thraxis seemed momentarily thrown off. You have no response to these charges, Thraxis demanded. Oh, I have thoughts, Reeves said, his tone conversational. But I'd like to hear from the other delegates first. This is, after all, a multilateral discussion. Brilliant move, actually. By deflecting, he forced the other species to take positions before committing to his own. Over the next hour, the Porthan expressed concern about precedent, the Ashur talked about proportionality, and the Ilari tried to broker some kind of compensation scheme. Reeves took notes on his tablet, thanked each speaker, asked clarifying questions that were so polite, they were almost aggressive in their politeness. Then he smiled. Not a big smile, just a small constant curve of his lips that never quite reached his eyes. By the end of day 1, nothing had been resolved. Thraxis was visibly frustrated, his scales darkening to a deeper black. The other delegates seemed uncertain, and Reeves simply thanked everyone for their time, gathered his tablet, and left. I followed him back to his quarters. That was an interesting approach, I said, trying to sound neutral. Was it? He glanced at me, still smiling that small smile. You said almost nothing. I said plenty. I just didn't say anything. Thraxis wanted to hear. The Krell expect submission. I imagine they do. We walked in silence for a moment. The corridor was empty except for the ambient hum of the station's life support systems. Reeves moved with that same steady pace, unhurried as if he had all the time in the universe.
You lost 40,000 people,
I said, because I genuinely did not understand. Families, children, scientists, farmers, all dead. Yes. And you just what? Sit there and smile? He stopped walking, turned to face me fully. The smile was gone now, and what replaced it made my primary heart skip a beat. I'm not smiling because I'm happy, Vrel, he said quietly. I'm smiling because I'm thinking. Thinking about what? About how this ends. Then he resumed walking, leaving me standing there with a sudden, inexplicable chill running down my dorsal ridge. Day 2 proceeded much like Day 1. Thraxis made demands. The other delegates debated nuances. Reeves listened, took notes, and said very little. He agreed that territorial disputes were complex. He acknowledged that the Krell had followed the letter, if not the spirit of the law. He even conceded that human expansion had been aggressive in some sectors. But he never apologized, never backed down, never offered anything concrete. What is your proposal? The Porthen delegate finally asked, exasperation bleeding through their translator unit. Reeves looked up from his tablet. I'm still formulating one. It has been 2 days, Thraxis growled. Yes. These things take time. You waste our time, human. I'm sorry you feel that way. The negotiations recessed for the evening. I watched Reeves return to his quarters, watched his security detail remain motionless by the door, watched the other delegates scatter to their various accommodations with various levels of frustration painted across their alien features. Something was wrong. I could not articulate what exactly, but my instincts, honed over decades of intelligence work, were screaming at me. 2. I accessed the station's communication logs. Reeves had sent exactly 3 messages since arriving. All 3 were encrypted with human military-grade protocols that even consortium crackers could not break. All 3 had been brief, less than 5 seconds of transmission time. He was coordinating something. On Day 3, Reeves was even quieter than before. He spoke perhaps 20 words during the entire morning session. The other delegates were beginning to question whether the humans were negotiating in good faith. Thraxis was openly hostile now, his bioluminescent eyes flaring bright enough to cast shadows. Perhaps the humans need more incentive to take these proceedings seriously, Thraxis suggested. Perhaps another demonstration of Krell resolve is required. That was a threat. A clear, unambiguous threat to attack another human target. Reeves set down his stylus, looked up at Thraxis with those tired eyes. That would be inadvisable, he said. You think you can threaten us? With what? Your pitiful fleet? I'm not threatening anyone. I'm advising. Your advice is worthless. Reeves shrugged. Actually shrugged as if the lives of billions hung on the whim of a creature who could barely contain his bloodlust. Okay. Just okay. The session ended in chaos. The Alari delegate called for a private caucus. The Ashir representative filed a formal complaint about the breakdown in diplomatic protocol. Thraxis stormed out, his security detail scrambling to keep up, and Reeves sat there, alone at the table, looking at his tablet. I approached him carefully. Masseter, I must ask. He did not look up. My job. Your job is to negotiate peace. Is it? What else would it be? 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 Finally, he met my eyes. To buy time. My blood went cold. All 3 of my hearts started pounding in an arrhythmic pattern that was decidedly unhealthy. Time for what? He smiled again. That same small, terrible smile. You'll see. I reported my concerns to my superiors that night, told them that Reeves was stalling, that he had some kind of plan, that the humans were not here to surrender. The response was dismissive. What could the humans do? They were outgunned, outmanned, outmaneuvered. This was theater, political theater to satisfy the human population back home. We're told to stop being paranoid. Day 4. Reeves did not show up to the morning session. His security detail stood by the conference chamber doors and informed us that the ambassador was unwell, that he needed rest, that he would attend the afternoon session if his condition improved. Thraxis laughed, literally laughed, A sound like grinding stone. The human is afraid. He knows he has nothing to offer. The morning proceeded without him. The delegates discussed terms of surrender. Reparations the humans would pay. Territory they would cede. The future restrictions on their expansion. It was brutal, humiliating, and the humans were not even there to hear it. The afternoon session came. Reeves did not attend. Day 5. Silence from the human quarters. Day 6. Nothing. On day 7 I went to his door myself. The security detail, those two quiet people who had not moved or spoken in nearly a week, simply looked at me. "I need to see the ambassador," I said. "He's resting," one of them replied. A woman, I think, though human gender markers were still confusing to me. "He has missed 3 days of negotiations." "He's aware." "Is he sick? Does he need medical attention?" "He's resting," she repeated. I tried to push past. The woman did not move. But somehow I found myself unable to advance, not because she blocked me physically, but because something in her eyes suggested that advancing would be the last mistake I ever made. I reported this too. My superiors were now concerned but still skeptical. Thraxis was demanding that the humans be held in contempt, that sanctions be imposed, that this insult be answered. The consortium was losing patience. On day 8, Reeves returned to the conference chamber. He looked the same. Same gray suit, same tired eyes, same calm expression. He sat down in his chair, folded his hands on the table, and said, "My apologies for the delay. I needed some time to think." Thraxis slammed his fist on the table. The impact cracked the surface. "You mock us with your absence." "Not at all. I was genuinely unwell." "Convenient timing, isn't it?" Reeves opened his tablet. "Now I believe we were discussing terms." "We were discussing your surrender," Thraxis corrected. "Ah, right, about that." Reeves swiped through a few screens. "I've been reviewing the legal frameworks, Section 47 of the Contested Territory Accords. Fascinating document. It justifies our actions completely." "It does. You're absolutely correct. Law, the attack on Praxis 9 was by the letter of the law, permissible." Reeves looked up. "However, I noticed something interesting in Section 51. The chamber went quiet. I pulled up the accords on my own device, scrolling to Section 51. That dealt with proportional response in the event of treaty violations. Section 51 allows for retaliatory measures. Reeves continued, his voice still quiet, still calm, provided they are proportional and directed at legitimate military targets. There are no human military targets worth mentioning. Thraxis sneered. "True, we don't have much of a fleet in this sector." Reeves smiled. "But we do have the Normandy." Silence. Complete, total silence. The Normandy. I knew that name. Everyone in the consortium knew that name. It was the human dreadnought, their largest warship, a vessel so massive it required a crew of 12,000. It had been on patrol in the outer reaches, 3 sectors away. "The Normandy is not in this region," Thraxis said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. "It wasn't," Reeves agreed. "But I've been resting for several days, and during that time I had it moved." "Moved where?" Reeves tapped his tablet. The main view screen in the conference chamber lit up, showing a tactical display of the local space. 17 red dots marked the Krell battle cruisers. They were dispersed across the sector, maintaining control of key jump points and trade routes. And there, sliding into position above the Krell home station at Drakkar Prime, was a single massive blue dot. The Normandy. "You wouldn't dare," Thraxis whispered. Reeves looked at him. Really looked at him, and when he spoke, his voice was no longer quiet. It was cold. Arctic cold. "You killed 40,000 of my people. Farmers, teachers, children. You did it because you could, because the law said you could, because you thought we would bend." He stood up slowly. The entire chamber seemed to hold its breath. "I've been sitting here for 8 days," Reeves continued, "listening to you gloat. Listening to you justify murder. Listening to you plan how to carve up what's left of human territory." He leaned forward, hands flat on the cracked table. "And the whole time I've been smiling. Do you know why?" No one answered. "Because I was thinking about how satisfying this moment would be." He tapped his tablet once. "Captain Alvarez, you are authorized to target Drakkar Prime. Fire on my mark." The chamber erupted. Delegates shouting, Thraxis roaring. Alarms beginning to sound throughout the station. Reeves just stood there, finger hovering over his tablet. "You're bluffing," Thraxis said. But I could smell his fear, literally smell it. The pheromones humans could not detect. Am I? Drakkar Prime has 2 million civilians. Praxis 9 had 40,000. This is madness. The consortium will never allow this. Reeves looked around the chamber at all of us. Every species, every delegate who had sat here for over a week discussing how to punish humanity for being weak. Where were you? He asked quietly. When the Krell bombed my people. No one answered. Where was the consortium when we needed protection? Where was the outrage? Where was the justice? His voice was rising now, emotion finally cracking through that calm exterior. You sat here and told me it was legal, that it was justified, that we should have been more careful. He looked back at Thraxus. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to order every single Krill ship out of human territory. You're going to pay reparations for Praxis 9, and you're going to do it in the next 5 minutes. Or I'm going to show you exactly what proportional response looks like. You're insane, Thraxus breathed. Reeves smiled.
Odd.
Maybe I'm just tired of being polite to monsters. His finger moved toward the screen. The silence in that conference chamber was not the quiet kind. It was the screaming kind, the kind that pressed against your eardrums and made you acutely aware of your own heartbeat. I could hear every breath from every delegate, every subtle shift of weight, every click of mandible and rasp of scale. Thraxus stared at Reeves like he was seeing a human for the first time. You would not, Thraxus said again. But the conviction was gone from his voice. The consortium would condemn you. Humanity would be expelled, sanctioned, destroyed. Reeves did not move his finger from the tablet. Maybe, but Drakkar Prime would still be gone. 2 million Krell erased in a flash of light. Just like Praxis 9. He tilted his head slightly. Tell me, High Commander, does that seem proportional to you? We lost 40,000. You would lose 2 million. Actually, that seems disproportionate in your favor, doesn't it? This is terrorism. The Yalari delegate hissed, their antennae flat against their head in distress. No, Reeves said, not looking away from Thraxus. Terrorism is attacking civilian targets to create fear. This is war. You started it when you fired on Praxis 9. I'm just clarifying the stakes. The Porthan delegate was accessing their console frantically, probably trying to verify the Normandy's position. Their face, if you could call that mass of tentacles a face, turned a shade of pale gray that suggested they had confirmed it. The human ship is indeed in position above Drakkar Prime. The human ship is indeed in position above Drakkar Prime. Weapons are hot. This is not a bluff. 4 minutes, Reeves said calmly. Thraxus took a step back. It was small, almost imperceptible, but I saw it. The mighty Krell commander who had personally overseen the deaths of 40,000 humans was retreating. You are gambling with millions of lives, Thraxus said. Yes, just like you did. Except I'm giving you a choice.
You didn't give one to the people on Praxis 9.
They didn't get 4 minutes warning. They didn't get a chance to negotiate. They just died. Reeves leaned forward slightly. But I'm more civilized than you. So I'm offering terms. Withdraw from human space. Pay reparations. Do it now. The Dominion does not bow to threats. Then the Dominion will mourn 2 million citizens. 3 minutes. I found myself speaking before I could stop myself. Ambassador Reeves, please. There must be another way. The consortium can mediate proper reparations. We can establish new protocols. We can... 40,000 people. Grell. He finally looked at me. And what I saw in his eyes made my respiratory system stutter. 40,000. And you all sat here debating legal technicalities while their murderer gloated about it. You think I trust the consortium to deliver justice? I've been here 8 days. I've heard how justice works in this galaxy. The Asher representative, who had been silent this entire time, spoke up in their melodic voice. If you do this, Ambassador, you set a precedent. Every species with a grievance will threaten planetary bombardment. The consortium will collapse into chaos. Good, Reeves said flatly. Maybe it should. Maybe a system that allows genocide under Section 47 doesn't deserve to exist. 2 minutes, someone whispered. I think it was me. Thraxus was calculating. I could see it in the way his eyes dimmed and brightened, the way his clawed hands clenched and unclenched. He was running scenarios, trying to find a way out that did not involve either surrendering or losing Drakkar Prime. If I withdraw, Thraxus said slowly, how do I know you will not fire anyway? You don't, Reeves admitted. You have to trust me. Ironic, isn't it? Your entire civilization's survival depends on trusting the word of a human. He checked his tablet. Whole. 1 minute 30 seconds. This is madness, the Yalari delegate said again. This is consequences, Reeves corrected. Something the Krell haven't experienced in a very long time. Thraxis looked around the chamber, perhaps hoping for support, for someone to intervene, for some miracle to save him from this impossible choice. But every delegate was frozen, watching, waiting. 1 minute. How much? Thraxis asked, his voice barely above a growl. How much reparations? All of it. That is not specific. It's very specific. All of it. Every credit the Dominion profited from Praxis 9, every resource you extracted, every trade route you secured, all of it goes to the survivors and the families of the dead. 45 seconds. That is economically devastating. Yes, just like bombing Praxis 9 was devastating. 30 seconds. I watched a high commander of the Krell Dominion, a species that had conquered 17 systems and subjugated 6 lesser civilizations, break. It was not dramatic. He did not fall to his knees or beg. He simply deflated, his scales losing their luminescence, his shoulders sagging. I agree to your terms, Thraxis said quietly. Say it properly, Reeves demanded. For the record, so everyone here witnesses it. Thraxis closed his eyes. The Krell Dominion will withdraw all military forces from territories claimed by humanity. We will pay full reparations for the attack on Praxis 9. We will submit to consortium oversight to ensure compliance. 15 seconds. You need to actually give the order. High Commander, tell your ships to move. Now. Thraxis pulled out his communication device with shaking hands and began issuing commands in harsh Krell battle language. I could see him transmitting withdrawal orders. Could see his jaw clenching with humiliation as he commanded his own forces to retreat. 5 seconds. It is done, Thraxis said. The orders are sent. Reeves looked at his tablet, then at the main view screen. The red dots representing Krell battlecruisers began moving, slowly at first, then with increasing speed as they oriented toward jump points that would take them out of human territory. He let them move for a full minute, let Thraxis stand there, diminished, while his fleet fled. Then Reeves tapped his tablet twice. Captain Alvarez, stand down. Maintain position but power down weapons. Good work. The tension in the room did not break so much as transform into a different kind of horror. Sarawin Shin. Sarawin. The quiet human ambassador who had sat politely for 8 days while a plan unfolded across 3 sectors of space. You planned this from the beginning, I said, my voice sounding strange even to my own auditory receptors. Yes. The silence, the delaying. All of it was theater. Not theater. Strategy. The Normandy needed 8 days to reach Drakkar Prime without using the main jump routes where Krell sensors would detect it. I needed to keep Thraxis here. Keep him talking. Keep him distracted while my ship moved into position. Reeves closed his tablet. And I needed all of you to see what happens when you mistake human patience for human weakness. The Porthan delegate made a strangled sound. You risked interstellar war. The collapse of the consortium. Billions of lives. I risked nothing, Reeves said calmly. Thraxis risked all of that when he fired on Praxis 9. He gambled that humanity would accept it, that we would bow to superior force, that we would do the civilized thing and negotiate from a position of weakness. He looked around the chamber. He lost that bet. Would you have done it? I asked. If Thraxis had not agreed, would you have actually destroyed Drakkar Prime? Reeves met my eyes. What do you think? I did not answer. Could not answer. Because the terrible truth was that I did not know, and neither did anyone else in that chamber. That was the genius of it, the absolute brutal genius. He had created a situation where the uncertainty itself was the weapon, where the mere possibility that he might actually do it was enough to force surrender. The consortium will review this incident, the Hasher representative said, their voice unsteady. There will be consequences. I look forward to it. Saris, I'm sure the review will be thorough and fair, just like your response to Praxis 9 was. The sarcasm in his voice could have cut through hull plating. Perhaps you'll convene a committee, write a strongly worded letter, maybe even impose minor sanctions. You mock us. I'm learning from you. This is how galactic justice works, isn't it? The powerful do what they want and everyone else writes reports about it. Thraxis, who had been standing motionless while his world crumbled around him, finally found his voice. This is not over, human. The Dominion will remember this humiliation. Good, Reeves said. Remember it every time you consider attacking another civilian target. Remember that humanity will come for you. We might not come right away. We might smile and negotiate and seem reasonable. But we will come. And when we do, you'll wish you had shown mercy when you had the chance. He gathered his tablet and stood. This negotiation is concluded. The consortium has my contact information if there are any questions about the reparations process. High Commander Thraxis, you have 30 days to begin payments. Failure to comply will result in enforcement actions. What enforcement actions? Thraxis demanded. Reeves smiled. That same small, terrible smile. You'll find out if you miss a payment.
I recommend you don't.
He walked toward the door, and I watched as every delegate instinctively leaned away from him, as if proximity to this human might somehow be contagious or dangerous. His 2 security personnel fell into step behind him, silent as ever. At the door he paused and looked back.
Oh, and one more thing.
Section 47 of the Contested Territory Accords.
I'm submitting a formal proposal to have it revised.
Apparently the current language is insufficient for ensuring proportional response.
I have some suggestions for improvement.
Then he was gone, and the chamber erupted into chaos. I found him 3 hours later in the station's observation lounge, looking out at the stars. His security detail was present, but at a respectful distance. He was drinking something amber from a small glass. That was quite a performance, I said, approaching carefully. It wasn't a performance. It was a negotiation. You could have started a war. A war already started when Praxis 9 burned. I just finished it on better terms than anyone expected. He took a sip of his drink. You know what's funny? Everyone keeps acting like I did something unprecedented, like threatening overwhelming force to achieve political objectives is some new human invention. It is not the threat that disturbs us. It is the casualness with which you made it. The smile. The patience. The waiting. He looked at me. Humans were impulsive, impulsive, emotional, that we would rush in with rage and righteousness. Yes, we can be those things, but we can also be patient, methodical. We can smile while we plan your destruction. We can negotiate while our ships move into position. We can be polite right up until the moment we pull the trigger. He set down his glass. You wanted to understand humans, Vril. Here's your lesson. We are whatever we need to be to protect our own. Thraxis will not forget this. The Krell will seek revenge. Let them try. Next time they won't get 8 days warning. Next time there won't be negotiations. He turned back to the viewport. That's the other lesson. This was mercy. What I did here, threatening instead of just firing, giving choices instead of delivering death, that was me being kind. The Krell would do well to remember that. I stood beside him in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, 17 Krell battle cruisers were limping away from human territory. Somewhere else, a human dreadnought was powering down its weapons systems above a terrified Krell station. And somewhere farther still, the ruins of Praxis 9 floated in space, a testament to 40,000 lives cut short. The consortium will change because of this, I said finally. I hope so. If they don't, the next time this happens there might not be anyone left to negotiate with. Is that a threat? No. Vrel, that's an observation. The galaxy is full of species like the Krell, who think might makes right. Eventually they're going to push someone who pushes back harder. I'd prefer that someone not be humanity. Because when we push back we tend to push very hard indeed. He finished his drink and set the glass down with a soft click. You should probably file your report. Tell your superiors that humans are more dangerous than they thought. That we don't fight like other species. That we play long games and cold games and games that take 8 days to set up for 30 seconds of payoff. They will not believe me. Then they'll learn the hard way, like Thraxis did. He smiled at me one last time, and I finally understood what made that smile so unsettling. It was not cruel or sadistic. It was simply aware. The smile of someone who had looked into darkness and decided they could navigate it better than the monsters who lived there. Good night, Vrel. Thank you for your service during these negotiations. You were a fine liaison. Then watched him leave with his silent guards, and I knew that everything had changed. Not just for the Krell, not just for humanity, but for the entire consortium. Because now everyone knew what I knew, what Thraxis learned too late. Humans were not weak, they were not impulsive. They were not incapable of the cold calculus of interstellar warfare. They were just very, very good at pretending to be. I filed my report that night, used every correct protocol, every proper form, every official channel, told them everything I had witnessed, warned them that humanity was not what we thought. 3 days later, I received a response. My report had been noted. The consortium would take my concerns under advisement. There would be committees, reviews, policy discussions. I looked at that response and thought about Marcus Reeves sitting quietly for 8 days while a dreadnought traveled through deep space, thought about his patience, his planning, his willingness to threaten 2 million lives to avenge 40,000. Then I erased every copy of my report from the official systems and kept only one encrypted version for myself, because I realized something that night, something that should have been obvious from the beginning. The humans did not need the consortium to protect them anymore, and the rest of us needed to figure out what that meant before it was too late. 6 months later, Section 47 was revised, overwhelmingly. The Krell paid every credit of the reparations, and Marcus Reeves was quietly promoted to senior ambassador, with authority over all human diplomatic operations in the sector. I requested a transfer to a different assignment, somewhere far from human space. My request was approved immediately. Some lessons once learned are best observed from a safe distance, and humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson that would not be forgotten for generations. When a human goes silent and smiles, start worrying, because somewhere, a plan is unfolding, and by the time you see it coming, you are already standing in its shadow.